we are live. Welcome to another episode of DIGISTATE. Today we have some interesting topics, and we do not know what they are yet. Chris, hit me with one.
Well, we're going to get this DIGISTATE thing rolling then. Today's interesting topics are, we have none, so we're just going to talk shit. That's what we do best. And, first things first, well, the Queen is dead. The Queen is dead. Ding dong. The Queen is dead.
Where's that from?
Why
did that just spark a childhood memory?
It's probably for some old dude. I'm old.
Alice in Wonderland? Oh, the witch is dead. No.
Wizard of Oz.
Was it?
That's Wizard of Oz.
There we go. There's no queen there.
No.
What was it?
The witch is dead, maybe.
Witch is dead. There we go.
Yeah, but witch, queen, whoever, I'm an American.
She's dead.
I'm an American, so I don't believe in that crap.
They were trolling us online.
Yeah.
They were trolling us because everyone in America was talking shit about the Queen's death, and then they just fucking hit us with people from the UK realizing that 9/11 is just a day away.
Oh
they
yeah.
have, these little things,
yeah, dude. Well, I mean, being that I'm a warm-blooded American, I don't think kings and queens should exist. So I'm not down with that stuff. Obviously, they're getting their new king who's like, this motherfucker looks like Emperor Palpatine like a motherfucker. Like, he looks like Emperor Palpatine. You see his pictures? He's got the bags under his eyes.
Isn't his son the one who was a part of all that Epstein trial?
I don't think it's his son.
I know that someone got appointed into the Royal Commissioner. I probably butchered that because obviously I don't know their politics. I know
in reality,
monarchy,
man, there's so many people saying that they're lizard people. I wouldn't be shocked. You know what I mean? I would not be shocked. There's definitely some lizard people action going on. When they get old, it really comes out too. And most of the U.S. presidents are related to the crown.
That's crazy. I was watching something about how the U.S. presidency has this lineage.
Yeah, they're connected to the crown.
It's a very big family. I never knew it was connected to the crown as much, but I knew that a lot of it was a similar lineage.
Bloodlines, bro.
Yeah.
Bloodlines, man. Not to get too conspiratorial, but fuck that. It's bloodlines, bro. they're running shit, man. What I would like to see is a bunch of the royal family be like, no, I shouldn't do this, and then it'd be one of the Diana children. Because I think if there's going to be somebody with a crown, I'd prefer somebody who their mama was Diana.
Child of Diana.
Yeah, I would rather them, because I think maybe there's a 50-50 chance that they actually have a good heart.
I think we don't know anything. I think they're
not going to get
you only know as much as what you're told, because what you're hearing is outside sources at this point. You really don't even know anyone truly until you get to talk to them. So I don't think that we know anything.
No, but I have a good instinct. So I go with that.
Those are things.
I shoot from the hip all day, every day, and it works. You know what I'm saying? Keep paying this rent. Keeps happening.
Something's going on, right?
Right. So I go with my gut. Ultimately, when it comes down to it, the more power someone has, the more corrupt they're going to be.
I 100% believe that. I believe this. I believe power definitely corrupts, and I also believe that.
Right. I mean, what I'm saying is...
I lost what the hell I was just going to say.
What I'm saying is basically say you were king of the world all of a sudden, right? Do you really... say I put myself in that position, right? And I would say you think about it for a second.
I would never want to let go of that power. That's what I was going to say a second ago.
Yeah, if I put myself as king of the world, look, I try to do good, but chances are I'm going to be a tyrant.
You're going to be more selfish.
I'm going to be a tyrant.
I think everyone at that point becomes a little more selfish. It's a really rare individual who will stand up for the people, because once you kind of ostracize yourself from society and you're on a completely different lifestyle, you start seeing... I mean, you see this in groups of people in general. When you go to cities that are mainly one kind of, I guess, culture going on in that.
I would think at the very beginning, I would do a lot of good. And then the more good you do, you're a hero until you're turned into a villain, basically, like that Batman thing. Every hero eventually gets turned into a villain. right? So even if I came in and I did a lot of good out the gate, like, yo, I'm a broke regular street urchin, I'm gonna make it good for the people, blah blah blah. Very very swiftly, the people are gonna have enough power to where they're gonna not want me to exist anymore. And at that point, do I bow out and let them take me out, or do I defend myself? And I would like to be like all noble and act like I wouldn't defend myself, but ultimately, when it comes down to, I probably would.
We just put ourselves in the queen's shoes.
Yeah.
So, is that the longest lasting queen or
monarch
king?
in England?
Monarch?
Yes.
Because before,
Dude.
am I correct in saying that before this used to be a thing, where like
Motherfuckers didn't live that long.
they didn't
before.
live that fucking long. They were
No.
conspiring against each other
And they
just
didn't get in
murdering
there
shit.
until they were like middle aged. I don't know what happened for her to get in there so young, but I know the pictures of her when she's like first getting crowned.
You might be right. To
she's a
be
young woman.
alive that long in a monarchy, you must be a little
You gotta be the
cynical bitch.
you gotta be the
Because
top
like you have to
G.
take out motherfuckers.
Top
People
G.
are all trying to get your fucking position.
What happened to
Prince
Princess
Charles over
Diana?
here is just
What
waiting.
happened to Princess Diana?
Oh, for sure.
Because listen, if she would have stuck around, the people of England would have chose,
But
and
again,
they would have made
crazy.
her queen.
That's crazy
why they got rid
because
of her.
we're led to believe that it's like, no, that couldn't happen at all. But you look at history with monarchies, and
Game of
it's
Thrones,
always,
motherfucker.
well, yeah,
Come on.
that's actually, yeah, but I mean, factually speaking, like you look at history, and there's just conspiring brothers and sisters murdering each other. Like that position of power just took over something in their head.
I want to even break it down even further. Isn't a tomahawk missile the equivalent of having a dragon?
These motherfuckers got dragons.
Yeah, I mean, like...
Cue the dragon emoji.
Like...
Fucking spitfire.
So, like, I don't know how different it is. I think that...
Power's power, bro.
It's based off of...
Power's power.
Yeah, dude.
Once you have that kind of power... I mean, Biden said it himself. He's like, why would you guys want to have arms if you can't stand anything according to the military that we have? Like, he literally said it. He, like, flaunted his little power around. He was like, you guys can't... Your AR-15s are shit compared
And
to our
you know what
tanks
happened
and
right
nukes.
after that? The most F-15s ever to be bought by private citizens were bought right after that.
Word?
Yeah.
Well, so what I'm saying is, though, power is power. And so, like, you see it. And you see it being flaunted
Oh, yeah.
by
And he's like,
leaders.
I mean, Biden's basically like royal. He's like royal equivalent because, I mean, look, this guy's been in DC for over 50 years. He's basically untouchable.
If he doesn't know the game by now, which I really do think he does know the game, and he's running it in his own way, obviously, but you cannot believe that people just don't know what they're doing when they've been in this office. And then you look at their history as well. You look at their history and you go back to the Biden crime bill.
Oh, dude.
You go back to... Go ahead,
Yes.
I'm sorry.
I'm not even buying the Alzheimer's crap. I'm not even buying that shit, dude. I'm telling you. He's walking off stage all feeble, trying to shake hands that aren't there.
I'll tell you something.
And then as soon as he gets backstage, bro, he's just like buttoning it up. It's just like, all right, give me the 8 things I got to do. And he's just doing that because he knows he's a criminal. And that's his just in case. He's like,
So that
just
could
in
be a
case.
possibility. I believe in a lot, and anything's possible until it's proven. But that
usual
would have had to have
suspects.
been a conspired plan for a while, because there's a video during the Obama era or the Obama administration when he was about to go into surgery, and he would tell the American. This is when he wasn't really on the public eye as much, because vice presidents are fucking trash. You saw what they did to Teddy Roosevelt. Like, they just put you there because it's there. There's nothing there. But anyways, so I think like that would have had to been a huge conspiring lie, because in the Obama administration, he was talking about how he's about to go to surgery, and he listed a few of the things that would happen if he went through that surgery that the doctor said would happen. And we didn't see those things happen, at least because he wasn't in the public eye until now. Like, the man, like, I don't care if you voted for him, I don't care if you didn't, like, you have to recognize he's almost fucking senile. Like, he's
Is he? So what I'm proposing is the usual suspect scenario. That actually the diary and the laptop came out, which exposes
he's a
them.
fucking pig.
It exposes
fucking
them
pig.
as straight up criminals.
pedophiles,
Yeah,
actually.
but and also people taking money from foreign nations and all types of quid pro quos, all types of dirty money going on.
Yeah.
And that's all being shown.
And this is all factual, by the way.
Confirmed.
Okay,
Yeah.
so like when we
Years
like
later.
we can go off the deep end sometimes, but like this is like what we're speaking right now.
Look it up for yourself. This shit is
please.
real.
The diary of his daughter. Look up.
The Hunter Biden laptop.
Well, that was the first thing that came out.
And that's
But
been confirmed.
The diary of his it's been confirmed. But the diary has also been confirmed.
Yeah.
And dude, his own daughter, like, let's not get too crazy on what the diary said, but I want you guys to read it. And
he touches kids. That's what it is. It's bad.
yeah, he used to take showers with his daughter until she was about like how old did it say? 16?
Yeah, until she was big enough to just dodge him, basically.
Let that sink. Facts, bro.
That's what she said.
I will. Yeah, that. Well, I mean, facts from that the diary is real and that she wrote that down.
Yeah.
But and also that diary, so we know that it wasn't just made up. She was going to therapy sessions.
And that's where the diary is from.
And this is where it's from because she was supposed to recount all of everything that was happening.
Yep.
These people really think they're untouchable if you really think about it.
Well, they're gonna get the diary to not count in court because it's a medical thing, and then they're gonna get the HIPAA and they're gonna get to pull it as evidence. But the laptop, they're not gonna be able to do that with the laptop.
That laptop isn't that where all the pictures leaked from about Hunter Biden?
So that's the small stuff. The big stuff is all the money dealings in the money.
Yeah, they actually put his son in charge of this petroleum company. How do you say that in English? Petroleum?
Yeah, oil company.
Yeah, an oil company. There we go.
Yeah, and, that was in Ukraine. Not to mention all types of banking organizations, real estate organizations in China.
But it really isn't insane because you start.
That's how they make their money.
Exactly. You start seeing like every time. I mean, you can completely see through the lobbyists that are funding these people and what the economy is going to be, in my opinion. Every time we go Republican, the country goes one kind of way. Every time we go Democrat, the country goes another kind of way. And these are not just like accidental.
All right, so before we dive off of that, I'm just going to go into...
I am neither Republican or Democrat, by the way. I am for the people 100%.
So before we dive into that realm, because I have stuff to say about that, but I want to finish what I was saying about this.
The Queen!
Well, not even the Queen. So I think he got caught. He knows he got caught. He knew he was going to be untouchable for some years, but once they lost power, which they do lose power from time to time, then he's in trouble. So what he did was he played like he lost his mind. Why did he do that? Because when the charges come, he gets to just plead like, hey, he doesn't have the cognitive ability to defend himself. He gets to go to a cushy nursing home for the rest of his life.
But how far? Okay, I get that, but how far do you really realistically think that's going to take you? Because if that's the case, it's
going to work. It's going to get him
broken mental. Like if that's the case, then he does win in that whole scenario.
He's got all
get
the
him off?
doctors
Because
there's
everything. He's got all the doctors in the world testifying. All the ones that are not trying to be canceled
testimony.
Right now.
He's getting off, bro. Straight up, he's getting off for that shit. He's getting off.
It's just so crazy though who they can pick. Who.
Also, I'm gonna make another prediction with this.
Hit me. Year.
Okay.
2022. So Chris's prediction, September 19th.
So say this November, the House and the Senate go Republican. They're gonna impeach him. I'm willing to bet when they go to impeach him and when the actual trial verdict comes in, he's in China. And so once he's impeached, he's in China and he's not going to leave.
Grab your popcorn. Come back to this video in November. When is this?
November's when the election happens. Go vote in
December.
November.
You come here in December again. We need to see the views double up.
So you're jumping the gun. So the November election will happen. Everybody will get sworn into office like January 20th. And
February.
Yeah.
February. Come back now that we know the timeline. And give us more views and likes and share if this man right now, he's basically Jesus, if that came true, by the way. And he's forming a religion called the One.
The One. Anyways. Now
Taylor Talks.
Now to go into the second thing you were saying about Democrats and Republicans. Okay, so I have a very real opinion on this.
Hit me with it.
So a few years back, not that long ago, it was just Democrats and Republicans, and they were almost an omni party because these were not Reagan's Republicans. Okay, these Republicans were neocrat, no different than the Democrats really for a long time, right? Like they were the only ones that survived through the Biden era. I mean, for the Biden era. Well, kind of binary, but Obama era, right? So what happened like 2 elections ago is both Democrat and Republican parties both got invaded by populism. So on the left, the Bernie AOC hyper left invaded the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party was a bunch of corporate elitists, right? And academic people. And then they got invaded, right? And successfully as well. Like a good chunk of them to control that party. Now, I don't think they have the majority control of that party. I think they have like 30-40% of that party, which is enough to make it to where the party can't function without them, right? Then on the right, you had who used to be the Tea Party people who became the MAGA people, right? So those people invaded the Republican Party, and they did a lot better than the hyper left. Hyper left did enough to do damage and not make it to where the party doesn't have unilateral control. The Trump people came in, dude, they got like 3/4 of the party right now. They've literally changed the staff. The only people that are left of the old Republican Party, which were like going to country clubs with the Democrats, right, the old Democrat Party, is a handful of people who kind of are at the top of the party, and I think they're about to lose their power. This next election in November, if it doesn't have too many shenanigans, and a lot of states change their laws. So a lot of these states where they pulled shenanigans, I'm not going to say, hey, it was all this or all that. There were shenanigans, right? A lot of these states where shenanigans were pulled, they changed their laws. They changed the way they do things. Those same shenanigans won't be able to be pulled in those states for at least a couple of elections. Now, obviously, when we talk about like New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and California, well, no, they've dug in deeper with their laws. It's probably all going to be mail-in crap. And we already know those states are kind of a throwaway. But I have a feeling, long as it goes well and everybody turns out like it really matters, because it really does, the House and the Senate gets turned, we could really make some headway. I think if the MAGA Republicans completely sink in their teeth and take over that party, now we have 2 parties. Now it's like when Reagan was in, there was a Republican Party that did something, right? This would be now.
It's been a while. Like usually Republicans just like, they don't like to really get in it.
Well, no, it's because they're
the
freaking paid off. Because they were neocons. They weren't real Republicans. They were rhinos, as they call them. And I'm not even like, first of all, I'm not a huge Trump fan. The laws that got signed, I read them and I liked them. The actions, acting like a child, all that shit, why not firing the right people, I wasn't so happy about that. I think if he has a second go, he'll know a lot better and do better. But, I like the policy. The personality is a little much for me. Don't get me wrong. Some of his speeches are funny, but not very presidential. But I like the laws.
It's viral worthy.
I liked the party's line.
He did put out
like the MAGA's like direction of what they're doing and trying to pass. I agree with.
It's for the people majority of the time.
And I didn't agree with it.
It's also pretty selfish. It's also pretty selfish. Like Trump turned into a vaccine salesman.
Right. No, he fucked up there. Straight up leave that alone. Never talk about that again, bro. Yeah. You messed that one up.
I don't think there's an all. Like at the end of the day,
there's no messiahs here.
Yeah, there's no messiahs.
Yeah, anybody who has that messiah King Trump shit, like, look, I get it. It's a funny meme, but stop that shit. You're a goddamn American.
Stop. Yeah, literally. You're a free person.
You don't believe in kings.
Yeah, at all. There's no reason to be.
In reality, I think now that the temperature has changed, and the Republicans that wanted to fight now realize they step up and they could fight. There are some good candidates out there that I think would do a way better job.
Well, I think honestly, there's something boiling crazy right now. Because so we've been in this era, you and me, we grew up in an era where it's very, very like school is basically teaching you to do a 9 to 5, not think critically.
Right.
It's teaching you how to think in a specific pattern, get things done, work aligned. Right?
Mm-hmm.
The new kids nowadays, like even our history, when we learned about Teddy Roosevelt, I think the most we learned about Teddy Roosevelt as children was that he was compared to a teddy. Like irrelevant history, like almost worshiping these men, and they wouldn't speak on the flaws they did and the good that they did as well. They made it so much so that it's like idolize these men. And it's Even fucking Thomas Jefferson, I'm pretty sure that he used to smoke hemp all the time.
Yeah, I mean, idol worship has been so beaten into our subconscious as human beings over hundreds of thousands of years that we have a tendency to want to do it. So,
Yes.
like, instead of taking somebody as a historical figure and just being interested in their historical value, we tend to idol worship. Like, for instance, I look at Abe Lincoln as a super awesome historical figure. I'm in awe at some of his speeches and some of the things he said, right? But there's a line where I got to draw where I don't have like a worshiping mentality of the guy, right?
Well, even that's so spoken. Like, we learned that Lincoln freed the slaves, right? Started the little war, the Civil War that went on. But what's crazy is
he attempted to free the dollar.
No one knows about that. No one knows about him. That's what I feel. I feel that was more important. Like not that it's not important to free the slaves, but I think that what was happening, he understood
the people who wanted
that
America, that was more important.
That was more important, yeah. Because in reality, the people who owned America at the time, the Rochesters, the Morgans, I think it was Carnegies. It was also I forget, but they were such monopolies at the time, and they were controlling our financial system at this point.
Oh yeah.
And Abe, his whole time becoming president, one of his biggest things, and not that it's more important than anything else because perspective is what it is,
right,
but one of the biggest things that he would talk about was that America is going to become enslaved completely by the dollar and by the bankers. And Teddy Roosevelt said the same thing. So many of these people spoke about this, but when you go to school, they only choose to highlight specific things that they did that are good for their narratives. So the winner always has
Andrew Jackson, history. Right? On one level, when it comes to him being like, he was a damn near a conquistador, right? He was a ruthless murderer, like damn near a conquistador. But on the other side of it, on the positive aspect of him, he actually did kill the bank of the time, and he personally dueled and killed.
Like some cowboy shit.
He personally dueled and killed central bankers. He personally took them out.
That's wild.
Yeah, like he went through many duels and lived all types of attempts on his head, and then he got rid of them. So when they instituted a central bank at that time, it had only been around like 20 years, and he got rid of it, zeroed out the debt, and had Treasury produce the money like it was supposed to be. Like he literally single-handedly got rid of that. Now on the other side of it, I mean the Jacksonian Democrats were ruthless. You know what I'm saying? Like if you were brown, of any sort or red or anything like that, it was bad. It was really bad. But he killed the banks off too. So like when they asked him on his deathbed, like, what was your greatest accomplishment? He just said, I killed the bank. Right? So all of his other conquering that he did and making new states and conquering Indian lands and shit like that, he didn't even look at that as his biggest accomplishment.
But it is so crazy though that so many of our presidents and even people in politics were fighting against the bank, and it's really crazy that that's not talked about as one of the biggest things.
Because the banks run it now.
Well, obviously they run it now. I think a lot of people think now in this present tense moment, and we're pushing this society with social media, with everything, where it's like in the now, in the now, in the now. History has, for these younger people, like history is like so just like off and wrong. A lot of people don't know, like Nazis, a lot of people that I speak on or speak up to will tell me, yeah, the Nazis took power by just completely controlling the surrounding countries. I was like, no. The Nazi movement was starting in the school systems. And it wasn't even a racial thing. It was like, hey.
We want to call them brown coats because I think the algorithm will fuck with us. So we call them brown coats.
Brown coats. All right. This is the last podcast that we ever say that. Thank you for letting me know.
For brown shirts.
Mess that up. We're probably not going to get views. So we are relying, again, people watching this, January, February of next year. Jump in to see the Messiah, even though we just said there's no ideal.
Yes.
There's no idolizing people.
The brown shirts, the brown coats, what they did was in Germany, right before World War II, what they did was they definitely took over the education system. They definitely took over the media system. Right? And then after they did those things, they did exactly what Antifa does now, and they bully the shit out of people with different political views. They burn down buildings.
It was a long-term plan.
They're doing it here
evil.
now.
Well,
the more we know about what these people did, and you look around closely what's happening now, that's what's going on. You know what I mean? So like I said in the previous podcast,
history does repeat itself.
The only thing I care about is that goddamn Constitution. That is the thing that matters more than anything. As long as we can expand the Constitution and take away more power from big government, no matter what totalitarian thing they're trying to do, it will get thwarted.
Well, it's crazy because we've reached capitalism has been working in a way for a pretty long time.
It's not.
We're not exactly. That's I think we're like on this neo-capital. We're on a
It's
new.
neo-capitalism.
We're on such it's corrupt
fascism.
capitalism. It's actually fuck. Why can't I remember? Hitler stated it. Hitler stated the best version of communism is.
So basically, what he explained was, I remember what he said. What he said was fascism was a perfect marrying of the public companies and private companies and the state.
Yep.
Right? And that's exactly what the Chinese have accomplished. That's what they've been doing here, and that's why regulation is so seriously not a great thing, because regulation marries the state to a business.
Also, that's not so far-fetched for you to say at all for the people listening at home. If you guys do a lot of research, even with the news companies, with so much that's going around, China is endorsing and pushing a lot of this rhetoric out. It's a lot of other countries, but you have to realize, like, before, war used to be sieges. They would wait out people, they would let their resources dry up, and this is a tactic of war. Completely destabilizing the population,
Death by 1,000 cuts.
confusing them. And what's crazy is this has happened before in history. Yeah. And I urge everyone to watch. There's videos of people who were in the Nazi era, and they spoke how their children were just so out of reality with what had happened. It's so eerie to hear. You guys should just research when you can, because it's eerie to hear it and then step into our reality. And there's a lot of common things that are kind of...
In the People's Revolution era, like, a lot of the translations from some of the quotes they had were like the same thing. It was like cultural appropriation, and then like there was different ethnicities that they were playing with. Everything was identity politics.
Social justice warriors.
Yeah,
they need you to bully people for their ideas.
And that was 100 years ago.
And they did
it the same way.
That's such a little time frame, by the way.
Yeah, dude, so the way you defeat a country that can fight is from within, and it's through a color revolution.
100%.
And we are definitely going through a color revolution right now. The one thing I would say that we have in our favor is a lot of people aren't buying this shit.
I would
say
now
a majority
Cuban,
of the country
right?
is buying this shit.
I'm Cuban, and I was raised with my family. Always, like, my grandpa lived through the revolution, fought in it, was actually fighting on the communist side, but just listening to everything that they were saying, like, it's insane to almost see things coming into fruition here. So a big thing that they did is it took away all the businesses of the people, because they said, hey, it's not fair that you have what you have.
That's what they're trying to do here.
Now you remember Cuba? Like, if you look at Cuba 1930s and you look at New York 1930s, Cuba was way ahead of its time. Way ahead of its time. It was one of the more booming economies. And what's really crazy is it became this social justice fight and this cultural appropriation that it became a defense. Everyone was just triggered. Everyone was triggered, and it became such a manipulation.
Right, because if you turn everyone into the enemy, you're all divided and you're easy to conquer.
That's the case.
Ultimately, where I think, so I don't think any form of totalitarianism is good, but then you could clearly see when there's success and there's failures, right? But I think where Cuba's Communist Party failed was
miserably.
They didn't marry their businesses to their state. They crushed them. They crushed the businesses. And so that...
Well, you have to remember
that hurt
the
their
revolution,
ability.
dude. The revolution was not... It was Bautista. It was Fidel. There was Che. There was so many moments in this revolution that it was just chaos.
I think Che would have taken a different
up
direction.
To pieces. No, Che was murdered, bro. Che was sent to South America to fight another social justice.
Right. I'm saying I think he was going to take it another direction than
what Fidel would have.
Yes, I think Fidel had a hand to play in like where his location was at and telling people and all that stuff.
Oh, for sure,
yeah,
dude, for sure.
Yeah.
The Cuban people, 100.
Yeah.
Like so many Cuban people believe that as well. I mean, I can't speak for everyone.
Yeah, we
obviously.
don't know,
Not-
but I think it makes sense because
just-
Che
yeah, it does make
had
sense.
more charisma. He was a better
He
fighter.
was the fucking dog fighter
and
there.
he actually still gave a shit about the people, where Fidel did not.
So I will tell you something. Knowing like culture in Cuba, there's not as much reaction about Fidel as there is for Che.
Oh, yeah.
If you speak ill of Che in Cuba, in some sections, you are fucking like it's like the anti-vaccine mandate.
Right, right.
It's a mask, no mask. It's the black, it's the white.
He was the hero of the
religion.
fight, right?
But he became such a figure. Like Che knew what he was doing. Like even my grandpa like talked of him
So
so
this
well.
day.
And my grandpa was like, Che was there when they bombed, like when your abuelita was giving birth, and they bombed the hotel right next to us, and he saw your mother, and he would tell all of these stories. And the more I did research on this guy, my God, I can't believe people are just.
I mean, he's still a
Are
warlord.
just yeah, but the thing is, like, great, he's a great dog fighter in a guerrilla warfare, but like, you're idolizing a murderer,
Oh,
a
big time.
homicidal maniac, and
Big
my grandpa, after telling me these things, my grandpa would then tell me for the revolution towards the end of it, what was happening. He would live right next to the prison, and every morning having coffee, they would listen to the shots and they would count them because those were the people being murdered on the wall, and they were the people who did not believe in Che and who did not believe in Fidel. And now we can speak about this, and it just got so crazy, blown out of proportion. But you need to remember, it started so small. It started with things that are happening now.
They had
And I think
outside
people-
funding, though. They had outside
Well, of
funding.
course they did.
Yeah,
Of course they
Russia
did.
and China were thrown in the pot, for sure.
The same way that's happening now, China's also thrown in the pot. Russia's thrown in the pot. There's so many. North
So
Korea's
if
thrown
you
in
look
the pot.
at
I'm sure.
Cuba's strength as a state, like its wealth as a state, their system didn't work. Now,
At all.
if you look at China, for instance, they're still just as dark and just as bloody, but they married business to the party, and the party is like 25% of the board members are on the party, and that's basically how they do big companies, right? So they're still privately owned, sort of, but if the people in the party are like, no, you can't do that, then that's what it is. But basically, they made enough because as long as they got their people chasing a dollar, they're gonna let the party exist, right? As long as they can see some economic growth, the party will still get to exist, and they don't have to go full Fidel, right? And so they found more of a balance, and that's how they were able to have the
In China?
financial boom, right? Because they're the second largest financial.
Well, so we both agree on fiat currency, and it's just unsustainable. Like obviously the president. We just started talking about the podcast and how the presidents were talking about how fiat currency is going to lead to the enslavement of the world, of America.
It already has.
And it really already has.
All
You
of our,
see it.
all
I mean,
of our
it's been going-
grandparents owned land. How much land do we own?
I know. It's
It's simple. Everybody's grandparents own land. Black, white, Mexican, everybody's grandparents that lived in this country own land.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you look at the number of people under 45 that own land, it is dismally low. So that's clearly showing an extraction of wealth from the people, which is
Mm-hmm.
if people are working more than they ever did, and there's less for the people as far as actual assets. I'm not talking about the dollar number because there's inflation.
And no,
Right.
that's just a huge scam. When
Right.
people understand the
The
financial
actual
system,
assets.
fiat currency is a huge scam, people.
Like if your granddaddy owned a 40-acre farm, dude, you own a 40-acre farm.
Yep.
That's an equivalent, right?
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be, you're supposed to be 50 acre. That's supposed to be the American dream, right? You're supposed to have grown it. And it went from that to you will own nothing and be happy. Klaus Schwab.
Yeah, Klaus Schwab is a little fuck.
Yeah, he's
For sure. God, we discussed a lot of things in this podcast. We jumped around for sure, but there was it's just some of the things we talked about definitely need a full.
Yeah, I think they're all related. I think we touched on
They
stuff.
definitely all are related. But what we're doing is there's a timeline, and we're going major
Yeah.
points hitting them. When in reality, there's just this buildup because it can be so crazy to think, especially when we talk about how socialism can ruin a country,
Mhm.
and then you can see the chaos that is Cuba.
Yeah.
But then you see this.
Venezuela.
Or the chaos that was Nazi Germany
Yeah.
and Venezuela. But now you see this,
Old
and
Russia.
people don't understand what happened. So it's like when you see that chaos and you see this, people that really don't want to learn or haven't learned of the way things happened and why they happened, they don't really see the
Right.
balance there.
Right. It's ultimately until we can get to reining back the size of the federal government in the United States, and then getting back to free market capitalism, not subsidized company capitalism, not the federal government gets to lean in on the biggest companies in the world capitalism, right? Where they get to control the markets, where a president can say, oh, no more oil drilling, and then a bunch of oil companies can't work anymore.
Yeah.
Like that right there is some czar shit.
Yeah.
Like we have
people think
we have to take away the power. We have to.
100% from
we need
DC.
more constitutional
Because
amendments.
people immediately think that the president is end all be all, but they don't realize and we're not even taught this. It's not. It's like they're calling us a democracy. We're a constitutional republic.
Straight up.
And they've been lying to people in school about how our system even works.
Right.
Like it's insane to think about. Why do you think even the small, you really just think about things in common sense terms and you can kind of put it together. Weed was legal in California. It's federally illegal. How does that happen? You start thinking it goes because states have the right to choose their own laws.
Right.
And so now other states cannot tell what other states can do. So these laws, people have to realize there's different laws in different states, and they also have their own constitutions. It's a beautiful fucking system, but they want you to believe that the law of the president and the law of the United States is the law all around. But that's just not the case at all, because people are culturally different in different areas. Big cities are different. Everyone's going to form in a different way. And the way you live in, let's say, Washington is not the way someone in maybe Texas would want to live. Or it's a completely different environment.
And it should be that
atmosphere. It 100% should be
so
that way.
the problem is we have an oversized federal government that's propping up states, and this is not the way we want it to be. The old United States, borders moved. State sizes fluctuated as states failed, right? So the thing is, the federal government
Cities would secede from the states.
The federal government was never supposed to take income tax from the states.
That's the biggest.
That was never supposed to happen. So
we
since
started
that
this
happens,
taxation without representation.
Since this happens now,
what
was happening is they're able to take money from, say, Florida, which is a very successfully run state, and they're able to give it to California, a very unsuccessfully run state, and they're able to prop up tyrannical governments that should have failed under their own weight. And the idea is, if the federal government just stayed outside the borders like they're supposed to and focus on national defense and trade like they're supposed to, right, and stay out of the country because the states have their own governments for that, then the states like California would have collapsed under their own weight. Half of their land mass would have been eaten by the surrounding states, and then California would be a lot smaller and a lot more manageable, and then they'd figure it out. You know what I'm saying? They would change because it didn't work, right? And that's not what we have going on right now. So right now, we're not a constitutional republic like we should be, but really our constitutional republic is our federal government, but we're really 51 governments, which is called the federalist system, right? And we're not 51 governments right now. The problem is we're 50 governments with one government that thinks it rules over those.
But it's more than one government. I honestly think there's multiple powers at be right now controlling and fighting.
I'm just talking on the surface level.
Super surface level. But what's crazy is this has been predicted, and these motherfuckers are not messiahs. Abe Lincoln is not a messiah. Teddy Roosevelt is not a messiah, but they predicted that this would happen. And then there was actually a huge movie about the FBI director, or the what was his name? Hoover?
J. Edgar Hoover.
Hoover, there we go, J. Edgar Hoover. And how tyrannical the FBI became in its own sense. And now the DOJ is its own thing.
Look,
the FBI,
all these bureaucratic organizations, right, that are appointed and they're infinitely appointed and you can't get rid of them. We have to do constitutional amendments to get these people out. We have to they need to either be voted in office or they need to have term limits based off of the person that.
This is not a fucking monarchy.
Right.
At the end of the day, there needs to be term limits for sure.
The founding fathers never intended there to be a bureaucratic side of government. That stuff did not exist.
Yeah, that got put into law little by little. FBI came into play.
Every 20 years they had into play. NSA, DOJ, IRS. Yeah, all these No.
What's crazy though, like just as bad, and obviously this has gotten pretty bad. There's just as much good that's come as well. Like I think 100%, and I've said this almost in every podcast. Yin and yang. I believe in creation and destruction creates, creating destructs. It's just the way of life.
Right. Well, I think
we have taken good steps forward though. Like,
right.
As far as the racism step, as far as the
internet,
culture divert, and I think the longer that the world just gets in general, like even if internet wasn't a thing, like no one, like after even you look at Spanish culture, it's just a mix up. It's just a huge mix up of different nationalities.
So is America.
And so is America. It's a huge melting pot.
Yeah.
So I think even if we gave the world time without the internet, it would just become.
I think the internet is really one. We're going to have to talk about that for a while, but we're probably not going to do that today.
The beginning of the internet.
I think the internet is literally if there was a controlling elite that ruled humanity for thousands of years, like many people suggest, this is where they fucked up. They left the internet.
Information and knowledge is power.
And they're trying to control it now, but you can
Huge
just make
power.
new servers. It's uncontrollable.
It's crazy though. You cannot. That knowledge is power, and the
Right.
reason being is because you cannot eliminate that.
No.
Like unless you eliminate people and restart or try doing something, is no eliminating whatsoever.
Yeah. So I agree with that. But on that note, I think we're gonna probably wrap it up. That's probably the end of
One
this
of our
one.
longest ones.
Yeah, we went on a good distance on this.
We tried putting in a little bit of your
Yeah.
opinions, a little bit of my opinions, but we also put in all these opinions were obviously based off of facts, like that we kind of come up with. No, as far as we know, because that
Yeah.
history could have been rewritten
Who
as
knows?
much as we can.
It's some shit we heard.
There's some shit we heard in a history book.
It was some shit we heard, maybe on the internet too.
Except for the Nazi Germany stuff.
Yeah.
And the presidents.
Brown coats.
Fuck. I can say fuck, shit, and bitch, but I can't say goddamn.
Yeah, I mean, once you make it past 4 minutes, they usually allow more cursing.
It's literally gonna get to the point that I can't even scream. Fuck.
But I'd like to hear what you guys have to say about the things we talked about. If you guys want us to do bigger episodes on these subjects in there, you should let us know down in the comments.
Conspiracy theories.
Oh yeah, we love conspiracy theories. We love it. Yeah. Like, share, and subscribe. We're brand new. We need all the help we can get, man.
Thanks everybody. Peace out. It was a good episode.
Peace.